Hello and welcome to another video. And today we have something very special. We have two mainboards and these both are Z170A XPOWER Gaming Titanium. And these carry a special place in my heart because this is the model of board that I featured in my very first video on this channel. The very first video on these were with RAM channels that were broken, and yeah, this time we got something from a viewer. He actually has two of these boards. I tried to help him diagnose one of these. Don't know which one of these there it was. He said one of them only shows 00 on the postcodes and the other one shows E6. And yeah, I've tried to walk him through some steps, but ultimately he asked me if I would have a look at them. And now we have both of them here, and I don't know which one is which. So we're just going to be starting with this one. So we're going to set this one aside, and yeah, so let's get into repairing this board. So Z170 is 6th and 7th gen Intel. And let's do some measurements first. Biggest thing when you have 00 is oftentimes that the PCH is dead. So we hope that that isn't the case here, because especially on Z170, dead PCHs are often. So let's do some measurements. So we're going to be checking. Let's see, 45 VSB. Looks good. 3.3 volts. Looks good. 5 volts. Looks good. Let's go 12 volts auxiliary. Let's go to the CPU 12 volts. CPU 12 volts looks good. Let's see. This is probably VCC-IO, VCCA. That looks good. This is, I think, the phase. No, this is not. I thought this might be the PCH, but this is not. This is probably VPP, so a resistance is good. Let's see. This is probably 5 volt dual. Looks good. Let's see. There's two here. Two inductors. There might be one for the Intel ME region and one for the PCH. Let's see for these. Okay. Let's go into a lower range. But this has higher. Okay, let's see here. This is also higher resistance. Okay. So this is weird. For the PCH, I would expect low resistance. Like this one has 650 ohms. And this one has even higher than 2K. Let's go into the 20K range. Okay, this has weirdly high resistance. So this is very weird. I'm now on my highest, basically on my highest setting for resistance. And I'm not getting a resistance reading on this inductor. On both of these sides. So this is very weird. This shouldn't be the case, I'm pretty sure. So we will definitely have to check whatever is here. So this is probably through VSB right here. And this is also fine. Let's check for the SIO. It's a linear regulator. And that resistance is higher than 2K ohms. Let's go on some of the capacitors at random. Yeah, one side is ground and the other side is good. Let's go on another one, also high resistance, and one more, also high resistance. Okay, so that looks good all so far. The only one that looked suspicious for me was now near the PCH. Let's go, there's also the DDR voltages here. So this is VDDQ, has high resistance. Or this might be 5 volts. This is VDDQ, yeah. Has also high resistance. Let's see, do I find, this is probably for the SPD, and this is also fine. Yeah, so the resistances all look fine, except that one that was weird. Let's see what standby rails we're going to have and what our passive power consumption is on this board. So let's see for the passive power consumption. We have 300 milliamps. That is quite a lot. This seems to me like a dead PCH or something. 300 milliamps, like there is standby power. Let's see for some voltages. Let's see right here. There's 0 here. Let's see for these ones. These are the interesting ones. 1.05 looks good. And this one, 5 volts. Interesting. I wouldn't have expected this to be a 5 volts regulator. Okay. This is our 3.3. Yeah, this is 3.3. This isn't present. Yeah, so far this looks pretty healthy. Question is there 2.5 volts VPP somewhere? Or is that only on startup? That might be only on startup. Is this also 5 volts? Let's see. Okay, this one at the top is not present currently. Okay, I guess it's time for a startup then. Let's see if it reacts to the power button without the CPU. And there is some reaction to it. But I feel like... Oh, there's something weird happening. There's LEDs blinking. Look at this. There's this LED blinking and this one. And also these LEDs here are blinking. Very weird. Like, this is a constant reset, I think. Like, something is shorted. Interesting. Let me turn this off for a moment. Let me get the thermal camera and have a look. So, thermal camera is ready. It's kind of small. Let me hold it at least a little bit. And let's turn on our output. So, let's see now. There's something getting a little bit hotter here. But that is only 36 degrees. So that is basically nothing. This is the USB controller. This is the controller for the PWM. PCH a little bit, just like power supplies there. Something getting hot here. This is our 3 VSB regulator. But also only 30. So let's try to turn it on. Let's see if anything is like pulsating now, maybe. So nothing special to see. I guess we should get a CPU into here and then see again. So let's try that. So let's see once more for the power consumption. Let's turn it on. Passive power consumption stayed the same. Okay, let's now press the power switch. And it really doesn't want to turn on. Very weird behavior. Let me connect it to a different power source. Maybe it doesn't like this. Okay, let me try this again. Yeah, it didn't like the power source that it was connected to. I recently have problems with the DPS that I got from FNIRSI. Something about that behaves weirdly. And yeah. So back to our good old trusted current meter inline. Let's see again. So when we turn this on, it instantly switched off. And on again. And off. And it just cycles. That is very interesting to see. Let me see if anything gets hot here while it's cycling, especially around the VRM area. If we see maybe some heat spots. So there's a small heat spot right here somewhere. Interesting. Let's see any further. We have small heat up right here. We have a small heat up under the DDR. But nothing too serious. Let's go over some voltages again. And let's see if what starts now. So this is still 1 volt for the PCH. This was 5 volts. Yep, let's see here. Does this start? This seemed to be also 1 volt something. Don't know what it's supposed to be. Let's see here. This might be something related to its BIOS issue. Let's see. Let me turn it off once more. Let's switch this BIOS switch. Let's connect it again. And let's see with this BIOS. With this BIOS, we get something very different. 1.7 amps. Interesting. And we don't have restart. We now have these LED. Let's see for the voltages. 2.5 volts VPP. 0.9 VCCA. Let's see. Can I get VCore here somewhere? 0.9 VCore. Looks very healthy. CPU not getting hot. 3.3 volts VSB. This is still 5 volts as it should be. Yes. Let's see DDR voltage. 5 volts. Yeah, that wasn't the DDR. Let's see right here. 1.2 volts on the DDR. If we can get a good connection. There we are. 1.2 volts. Let's see. Is this the 3.3 for the VDDSP? That looks like it. Yup. So all the voltages seem to be present. But still, something about this is weird, that with switching the BIOS, we actually get to that. I might want to switch the BIOS myself. And I also want to know what these switches are here. They say PEG switch 1 and there's a hotkey switch, which I don't know what these are for. And there are also quite some jumpers on this board. I do want to read up on those and see what all of these are for. I also see that there's a BIOS switch here at the top, that you can actually flash back the BIOS on this if necessary. So let me read up on what is what on this board. And let's do one more thing. Because 1.7 amps might be because I have no memory in here. Let's see if it wants to go further as soon as I put different RAM in here. RAM at all in here. Let's get also a speaker onto here. So now once more. Now I have a speaker on here. I have the DDR postcodes and I have the TPM postcodes. So let's hit the power button and see if this goes further. And this seems to be posting. Huh? Is this posting? B2? I think this is posting. As you can see, B2 here and B2 there. Also AF on my DDR tester. CPU gets hot. Jumping current. This looks like it's just working. Switch to the different BIOS. Well then. I didn't hear beep yet. But I think we have post. Let me plug a USB keyboard into here and see if we have... Yeah, we do have. Look at this. We have numlock. Oh, very weird. Okay, this board seems to be working. Let's switch it off once more. I didn't expect that to happen. Because he did have a look at it, he said. Let's quickly take this PCIe latch and plug it into the uppest one. That we have a latch there. These are very easy. You can just pry them out very easily. And then just put it into the top one, and now you have one in the top and you don't really care about the lowest one. I might even have MSI ones that I can plug in here. Actually, let me quickly see. I have a donor MSI board. I think I can quickly hook him up with one. And I found one. And now they're all there. So let's get a video output onto here. This has HDMI, but I will be needing DVI. So let's put our graphics card into here. Let's put a cooler onto the CPU. So, let me also plug more RAM into here, just to be sure that also it boots with all of the RAM. So, the board is built up. The PCH doesn't have a heatsink, so let me get a small heatsink. So, I always have these very small heatsinks that I can just plug onto there and have at least a little bit of heat sinking. Let's take an even smaller one for this PCH. That is very nice that it doesn't touch the capacitors, but it doesn't just instantly blow up. So let's get power consumption. There it is. And let's turn it on now. We now have a post screen on. And we have very high current, 2.7 amps, 2.5. Looks very good. It's jumping. Let's see now. If we get a post screen, it should be in the top right here. It says A2 now. And I would expect us to have signal right now. And we should have, because the indication on the keyboard is there, right here, as you can see, the LED. But I cannot see a video output yet. Let me see. There's probably something wrong with my capture. I've just pressed F10 to accept the BIOS and restart it. And probably it's now going into Windows, I think. The power consumption should be going higher. There you see, it went down because I hit F10 and then enter. In BIOS settings, that is always accept and continue. So let's try that, and let's see if it now tries to boot into our operating system, because I have the SSD in here. So I always tell people, look at the caps lock or look at the num log, because that is a very good indication if a system is actually running or not. People use these USB boot testers that are available, and you can basically just do the same with the keyboard on desktop mainboards. So yeah, let's wait a moment and see if we get any picture. So after some restarting, I now got an output picture, as you can see in the bottom right there, in the top. The board is still restarting. Let's get into actual BIOS. There's a new post screen, 4 amps, looks very healthy. So something was just weird about my capturing. And now let's see if it can boot into Windows by itself. Well, it seems like I got a freebie on this one. As you can see in the top right corner, it is now on and working. I could enlarge that. Let me do that. We have all of the RAM working, and it's normally just functional like it should be. And all I had to do was flip the switch for the BIOS. And I took the time also to flash the other BIOS, because there are 2 BIOSes on here, a right and a left one, with the BIOS switch down here. And indeed, one of the BIOSes was bricked. The right one, which the setting was on, was bricked, and it wouldn't boot. But as soon as I flipped the switch onto the other one, it just booted up normally fine, without any problems. So yeah, and in order to unbrick that, I just used the flashback function that this board has with plugging a USB into the back, and that's all we had to do. So yeah, not really anything for me to do on this board, but at least I got the secondary BIOS fixed, so we did something. Let's see and hope if the second one will have anything different for us. We will now have another working board that we can take measurements from and see what they should be, or what voltages we should be supposed to have on some of the inductors. So yeah, and I did test all of the RAM. There's 20 gigs currently installed with 4 DIMMs, and yeah, the PCIe is working because I'm capturing through that using USB right now with the keyboard that I'm using. So yeah, nothing more to do. So let's shut this one down, and let's get into the second one and see what will be wrong with that one. So we now have the second board on our bench, and now this one has the overclocking thing in the top right plugged in, and I wasn't able to pull it out. It's really hard on there, so I will just leave it on for now. And let's see how this board behaves in the passive power consumption state with standby voltages. And let's continue on then from there. I now really don't know which board should be what, because he said one of the boards has E6 or something and the other one has 00. But I wasn't really able to tell which one was which. So yeah, let's just see what this does. There's still a BIOS battery here. And yeah, Let me get this out of the way so we can see the passive power consumption. So let me plug it in. And passive power consumption, we have about the same, about 300 milliamps, which looks good. It does start up. Pulls 1 amp. This looks very healthy indeed, again. Let's go for some voltages. This should be 2.5. 2.5 is present. This should be 09, I think. 09 is present. Do we get, can we measure V-core? No V-core, but there's also no CPU in here, so that might be the reason why. 5 volts. Should be 1 volt. 1 volt is there. I cannot probe the DDR because of that overclocking board. The 3 VSB should be here. Let me pull the board up a little bit so I can see. Can I? No, I cannot probe the DDR like that because those are SMD inductors. Okay, so that looked very healthy. Let's plug a CPU into here. So let's go for it once again. Now I have a CPU in here. We have passive power consumption. Let's press the power button. I don't have a speaker yet. Let's put the speaker on here. So let's see. Pushing the power button. I do get postcodes. Also postcodes here. This is very weird. You really want to tell me both of these boards are working? 2.2 amps. Went down. Automatic restarting, more postcodes. Oh, you can't see those. Now there's postcodes for you as well. And there's B2 again. Is this just going to post again? Cannot believe it. It's not going to just post again, right? Still restarting by itself. So it's still trying something. But the board is on. What? So, again? It is there. As you were able to see. I don't have a GPU, so I don't have any capture. So let me build this up again with just a video capture. So once more, now with the GPU in here for capturing. And let's see. Power consumption looks very good. Postcodes are running. And I have a picture. There it is. Huh. Both of these boards just work. Okay. Let's switch the BIOS to the other one. And see if this one works. And this BIOS doesn't seem to work. Oh, it does work. No. Just a few restarts. Let's see. Does it boot into the other BIOS? The screen that you can see right there currently is the stuck one from before. And we're now on 01. Let's see. Now we're B2. Now it's restarting. And there's a BIOS beep. The ME firmware of system was found abnormal. But it booted. It displayed something. So this is the flashed BIOS from the owner. But that also just posts. This time, both of the BIOSes are fine. On the other one, at least one of the BIOSes was definitely corrupted. And this one is a little bit corrupted, I guess. But it works. Let me see if I can get into Windows with all 4 sticks of RAM. So let's see once more with all of the RAM populated. And now having also a SSD connected to here. And it seems to be just working, booting up fine. Let's see if we get that. Yeah, there it is again. 01. Because of the abnormal ME region thing, probably. So 01 is something with the ME region being wrong. Let's see if we get that onto the post screen. There it is. CPU memory changed. Let's continue with normal values. And there's the firmware, ME firmware found at normal. So this BIOS just boots normally, just that it takes a lot longer and shows the error with the ME region. But it also does boot and goes into the BIOS. You don't really want that. You want to reflash this BIOS. So let me see if with this BIOS you can get into Windows, or if it's just going to hang on that error. Yeah, it seems to be restarting on that error all the time. Oh no, it doesn't. Okay, it just shows that error multiple times. So on this board I didn't even have to do anything. So both of the BIOSes are fine. It just booted. I have also USB connected. I have video output, and so what could have happened here? I'm really not too sure. The owner definitely flashed the BIOSes. He definitely there's Flux around here, and you can see by the BIOS chip that they are soldered, but they are connected. They are not not greatly soldered, but they are soldered and are connected. So, and I'm using that chip right now that he has flashed. Yeah, so he must have had something wrong with the setup while testing. Like, he probably didn't get an output out of this, or not a good indication. And on the other board, he probably didn't try the other BIOS. Like, one BIOS was definitely bricked on the other one, but on this one, nothing was wrong. So something about the setup, either his RAM, his CPU, or like the capturing for like the GPU, the output must have been wrong. Let me connect an Ethernet also in here just to be sure that this also works. I have tested that on the other board and it was working fine. And yeah, so all there is just the missing heatsink on the PCH. But otherwise, I cannot find anything wrong. Like, especially this one is weird. Like on the other one, okay, I found a dead BIOS and was able to flash that. But on this one, weird. So I will definitely have to tell the viewer that something about his test setup is weird. And one thing to take out of this is always have a USB keyboard connected. Like, this USB keyboard has saved me so many times where just something with my output was wrong, with my video capture. Because if you have the indication of the num lock or the caps lock and is reacting, then that means that your board is on and that your system turned on. Even if you can't see anything other, even if the power consumption is static, if that reacts on the keyboard, you know your board is working and is up and running. And the same was for me on this case, especially on the first one. I had problems capturing it and getting a video output at first because of the weirdly bricked BIOS. But yeah, so I'm happy that I'm able to tell the owner that both of his boards are working and there's, yeah, basically nothing I had to do for it. And he has now two of these in good working condition. He only needs coolers for the PCHs. Don't know why they are missing on both of them. But yeah, I hope you still enjoyed the video, could learn something about powering up and like the whole indication thing of being able to see, okay, when does a board actually turn on and when not. Sorry that I wasn't able to do much of a diagnose here, but yeah, this was Mainbot Medic. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.